In what is being described as victory for Nigerians, the Senate has finally approved the electronic transmission of election results, subject to INEC's discretion. In a bid to widen democratic participation, it also approved the use of direct primaries by political parties. Arise political editor Sumna Sambo reports.
The Senate approval follows a motion for a committal of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill by the Senate leader, Senator Abdullahi Yahya, where the upper chamber decided to rescind its decision on some affected clauses of the bill as earlier passed. The lawmakers then went into a committee of the whole for consideration and reamendment of clauses 43, 52, 63, and 87 in the bill before its eventual passage. The new bill now reads that, subject to Section 63 of this bill, voting at an election and transmission of results under this bill shall be in accordance with the procedure determined by the Commission, which is INEC.
Those against any, the ayes have it.
To promote popular democracy within political parties, the Senate, in a landmark decision, also approved that direct primaries shall be compulsorily adopted as the only means for conducting political party primaries. This means that the indirect or delegate system, which has been controversial, will no longer be in use if the law is assented.
Unlike the delegate system, where money bags will simply hijack the party and enthrone whoever they want to enthrone, regardless of whether it's acceptable or not. But this move will certainly make it possible for good politicians to come in. People that have no money, as long as they are popular, they will come and they will get elected.
It is a way of giving power back to the people who are members of the political parties. This is not about any political party. Every political party will enjoy this right. Every card-carrying member of all the parties will enjoy this right.
And I think the only problem we have with this one is that not every party has the capacity to be able to organize direct primaries. So I think that we may still have to leave it in the way it is so that the parties that have the capacity can do direct. Parties that don't have the capacity,
If you don't have capacity, why you
reluctantly support the position of the leader.
So those in favor of that clause 63 stands part of the bill, say aye. Aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. A bill for an act to repeal the Electoral Act and enact the Electoral Act 2021 and for other matters connected there with 2021, third reading taken and the bill is passed.
The report was earlier presented by Senator Kabiru Gaya-led Senate Committee on the Independent National Electoral Commission, and members of the Harmonization Committee in both chambers will now meet to finalize the new amendment. Meanwhile, the Inter-Party Advisory Council, or IPAC, which is the body of all political parties in Nigeria, says the Senate's reversal of itself is a victory for democracy and progressive governance in Nigeria. Sumna Sambo, Arise News.
Well, right now, we'll now teach to our first guest for the day. And that first guest is the former National Legal Advisor of the People's Democratic Party, Jacob Mark. And he will be discussing with us issues relating to recent developments within the People's Democratic Party and also the resolutions of the Senate of the National Assembly with regard to e-voting, electronic transmission, and also Clause 87 of the proposed Electoral Amendment Bill 2021 with regard to the mode, the option for choosing candidates for elections, whether it will be direct or indirect. Thank you very much for joining us, Jacob Mark. We're glad to have you on This Day Live, the Sunday Talk Show. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abachi.
Well, very quickly, I mean, the Senate, in the course of the week, decided to do a vote fast with regard to start with,
Yes.
plus 52, subsection 3 of the Electoral Amendment Bill 2021. Previously, the Senate had said in that section that the Independent National Electoral Commission, for it to be able to do electronic transmission, will have to take permission from the Senate and also from the National Communications Commission. But now the Senate has done a vote for us and has said that the Senate, the INEC can go ahead and do electronic transmission of results, which is also on all fours with the position previously, 3 months ago, of the House of Representatives. How significant is this, in your view?
Well, first of all, it is very important to say that I agree with IPAC that this is a victory for democracy. Initially, when the Senate, in the face of the pronouncements and insistence of INEC that it had capacity to transmit results of election electronically, for the Senate to have continued to insist that this cannot be done, or that this can only be done with the approval of the Senate or the Communications Commission. It was very embarrassing to some of us that believe in the strategic position of the Senate. We expected from the beginning that the Senate will not set itself at a position course with the Electoral Commission. So it's a big relief to some of us that believe in the Senate that they have done a vote first and they have come back probably due to the loud cry and pressure that came from Nigerians that this position they had taken earlier was wrong. For me, it's a good thing and it's a very positive development. There is no reason why INEC should be saying it had capacity to transmit results electronically, and then the Senate will be saying a different thing on the other hand.
Well, do you think that is the Independent National Electoral Commission that made the difference after insisting that it could handle the situation in, starting with, Anambra gubernatorial election November 6 as scheduled? Or do you think that this is as a result of pressure from Nigerians?
I think it's an interplay of both. The senators are part of our society, and they must have gone round after their initial embarrassing position to see and to hear what Nigerians were saying. It was very embarrassing, like I said, that the Senate will be the one saying that their constituencies cannot be accessed electronically, which was not true. It's not true at all. There is no part of Nigeria that cannot be accessed electronically. So I'm sure that it is an interplay of both the pressure from the Nigerian populace and the insistence of INEC. And I thank the chairman of INEC and his commissioners for putting their foot down to say that they can do this work and continuously maintain that position. It's an interplay of both.
Okay, INEC says he can pull it off. We have evidence in the Kaduna State yes. Local government elections that indeed electronic transmission of results is possible. Do you believe? Do you think? Are you convinced that INEC will be able to pull it off? That's the electronic transmission of results, beginning with the, well, if I may add that, problematic gubernatorial elections in Anambra State on November 6th.
I have participated in the elections that took place in Kaduna, and I know for real that electronic transmission was done, and except for a few instances where officials of SICOM, the electoral body, ganged up or decided to sabotage themselves, there was no failure of the electronic system. Yes, elections can be transmitted anywhere in Nigeria electronically, with and when all the officials of the electoral body agree not to sabotage the system. In Kaduna, the places we had hitches were clearly areas of incompetence or deliberate refusal to allow the machines to work. And then the disappearance of returning officers with result forms. You know, it's so embarrassing that with all the efforts put in by government, officials of government, seriously, highly ranked officials of this electoral body in Kaduna, commissioners and directors of SICOM, were the ones that went out to sabotage the system. They went to the different local governments with preconceived intentions and were found to have deliberately sabotaged the effort of the government of Kaduna State.
Well, I'm sure there will be other opinions in that regard. But what are the likely challenges that you foresee? And how should we deal with those challenges provided, considering the fact that perhaps electronic transmission of results at the national level would take place? And what should INEC look out for?
INEC should beam its searchlight first on its officials who will be saddled with the responsibility of handling the electronic machines. Once the staff or officials employed by INEC to do this work are honest and sincere to their duty, the chances of failure are cut down by 80%. Now, the other thing is that you have slight hitches when the machines are in operation. There should be technical staff that can fix such difficulties or such hitches at this, quickly. Because, like in Kaduna, some of the machines started and then went off due to power shortage or something like that. But where the technical staff were available, all those problems were quickly and promptly taken care of. I believe that INEC should just address these two issues. The questions of honesty on the part of their staff employed to handle this officially.
Well, okay, okay, we've laid the foundation, but here we are now. The Senate will have to harmonize its position with that of the House of Representatives Committee on INEC. And eventually the amendment bill will go straight to the president. Do you have any fears that the president of Nigeria may just refuse to give his assent? Or will a similar situation that played out in 2019 will play out this time? Or you are confident that the president will be on all fours in terms of his choice with the National Assembly, whatever that turns out to be?
Well, since 2019, we have seen a very sweet romance between the president and the National Assembly. Hardly has anything gone out from the National Assembly that the president has not assented to. So we don't expect him to break that sweet relationship. But in today's Nigeria, anything can happen. But we do pray that nothing untoward happens in the direction of him refusing to assent to this bill. It will be a very big blow to the development of democracy in Nigeria.
Okay, well, my next question I already asked in terms of what you think is responsible for the vote for us. But there's the other issue about Clause 87 with regard to the choice, the selection of candidates for the electoral process. And this has to do with direct or indirect primaries. The Senate, under Clause 87, has now voted for direct primaries as opposed to indirect primaries. And your party, the People's Democratic Party, you were a former legal advisor to the People's Democratic Party, says, look, no, this doesn't make sense. It's better to do direct primaries. What do you think? Which is better, direct primaries or indirect primaries within the conversation around Clause 87 of the proposed bill?
My personal view is that we should have direct primaries. I believe in testing the popularity of our candidates.
You are breaking ranks with your party. You think the PDP is wrong?
No, I'm not.
No, you are breaking ranks.
The PDP is, I'm part of the PDP.
Yeah, but you are saying something different.
PDP, but my opinion also matters.
Okay.
We have not had a NEC meeting where this matter has been tabled for discussion. Otherwise, they will hear some of us, and probably their position will be different. There is nobody that should be afraid of testing his popularity when elections are concerned, because elections are largely a question of popularity. If you are not popular and you are just looking for a way to shortchange the people, where you put money together and buy the delegates because you know that you require only 250 votes to win, so you package money in 250 envelopes and distribute to delegates and then get elected. I think no democratic organ should support that. I am fully in support of direct primaries.
Okay, I hope you don't find yourself in a situation where you are accused of anti-party activities, you know, supporting the majority position of the All Progressives Congress on international television. But you are entitled, of course, as a citizen, to your own opinion. But let me ask you, yesterday, the PDP held some congresses in some states of the country. Yesterday was supposed to be the day for the Congress of the congresses of the ruling party, the All Progressives Congress. But the PDP, we saw in the news, also had some congresses. How did that go? Did it end up, as you have been told, in some places, with violence, with rancor, and all of that? And did the PDP decide on state congresses just to make sure that on a day that the APC had its major congress, then the PDP was also in the news? Was that a strategic thing?
No, the dates for these congresses of the PDP had been agreed upon long before now. And we can say that it is the APC that is doing copy and paste. Look, and as far as we are concerned, the congresses were just in states where there existed vacancies as a result of either death or court orders and other matters like that. But it was just a handful of states like Lagos and so on. Now, you can follow the news, you discover that except for one instance where the process has been suspended, all the congresses scheduled by the PDP in those states and local governments took place peacefully. Unlike what we have in the APC, where they did congresses to produce 36 state chairmen, now they have 90-something, because in virtually all the states, they had 3 different congresses, state congresses. And so they have 90-something chairmen, everybody claiming victory.
Well, no, I wanted you to comment more on PDP congresses, but you've taken the opportunity to comment on APC. Maybe later on the program today, we'll have an APC spokesperson to talk about their own matter. But quickly, another major development in the PDP this week has been the emergence of Dr. Iyorchia Ayu as the consensus candidate of that party for the position of the North Central. Well, consensus candidate of the North Central. I think I should be specific. What do you think is the significance of that? Does it mean that nobody from the North Central can aspire to be presidential candidate on the platform of the People's Democratic Party? And what are the challenges that you think Iyorchia Ayu faces right now as he stays in the wings to take over as chairman of the party?
The very first point I will bring up is that there is no gagging in the PDP. Once the discussion derives from consensus, the room is always open. There is always an open window for those who do not agree with the consensus to still exercise their right to contest. So even though there is a consensus from the North Central, other people from the North Central who do not agree with the consensus will be allowed to purchase nomination forms starting from tomorrow to contest the election. And I'm also aware that before these discussions about the zoning of national chairman took place, there is this discussion that took place which concluded that the emergence of national chairman from a particular zone does not automatically exclude any presidential candidate from showing interest in the contest. So there is no tradition that is cast in stone. Although in the past, it has always been advised and followed that when you have the national chairman from a particular section, maybe from the north, naturally the position of presidential candidate should go to the south. That has been the tradition. But like I said, there is no tradition that is cast in stone. In the past, even when we gave or allowed presidential aspirants to commonly from the south, we still had people from the south that bought nomination forms. In the same vein, when the PDP zoned its presidential ticket to the north, you recall that there are people who still took the nomination forms and contested with Yaradua. So the tradition has been there, and it is in the spirit of give and take. It's in the spirit of making sure there is equity. You don't lump positions in one section, which is what other political parties have done. The PDP believes and holds strongly that when you have the big positions, national chairman in this part of the country, the other positions should go to the other part of the country. And that is how the PDP has survived over the years.
Okay, yes, this point about zoning rotation of power actually is in the constitution of the People's Democratic Party, Section 7 thereof.
Yes.
Now, you have restated the convention. Is it likely that if the presidential candidate of the PDP emerges from North Central, that Dr. Iyorchia Ayu will willingly resign? What if he refuses to resign? What will happen?
Iyorchia Ayu is a respected Nigerian and a member of the PDP. He knows the system. He has been national chairman. He has been Senate president under the PDP. So I believe he understands these games. If the presidential candidate emerges from the North Central, there will be no problem at all. He's a product of the people. And so when the same people turn and discuss with him, there will be no problem. And I'm sure he would not have, nobody will have a problem with him.
Okay, but where does that leave Prince Uche Secondus, who is pursuing another matter in the Court of Appeal? Wouldn't that have an effect on the proposed convention, October 30, 31, and his insistence that he remains in office till December 10, to be specific?
December?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the National Executive Committee of the PDP has an overriding interest and power over every of its officers. There is no doubt, yes, Uche Secondus has a case in court. This subject is sub judice. I don't want to talk about it, but the reality is that once NIC has also met and taken decisions, it is difficult for any officer of the party to override those decisions.
Well, on zoning and rotation and consensus, I'm sure you are aware of the fact that in the southwestern part of Nigeria, the PDP caucus, at least some members there, are kicking against this idea of consensus. And let me be specific. Professor Wale Oladipo, former national secretary of the party, is interested in the deputy chairmanship position of the party, which has been zoned to the southwest. And he says nobody can use consensus to put in place former governor of Osun State, Olagunsoye Oyinlola. So how does the party deal with that? Because it looks like there's great division within the party with regard to Section 7 and this convention about rotation, zoning, consensus?
Yes. Like I said in the previous comment I made, the PDP tradition of allowing consensus to take place is largely out of respect and concern for members of the party, so that they don't overstretch themselves, they don't overstretch their resources, and then there is a reduction in rancor. But it is not also intended to shortchange anybody. If the consensus in the Southwest is not accepted by any of the contending parties, they are all respected persons, they are all qualified persons. If they don't agree with the consensus, the PDP will allow them to take nomination forms and contest the election. The question will remain whether in riding against the wind that informed the consensus, whether they will still be able to carry the day.
Okay, finally, Jacob Mark, I would like to ask you about this politics of, zoning and rotation. Where should power go? North or south? Because, as you are aware, the major stakeholders in the south say power must come to the south. How is the PDP going to play the game, and what is the strategy for ensuring that the PDP, as the main opposition party, can take power away in 2023? Is the PDP ready, really?
The PDP is very ready for the 2023 election. In fact, it's more ready than even the ruling party, because all the structures and arms of the party are alive and working. Now, I align myself with those who are saying that power should shift to the south. But like every other political decision, this must be based on negotiation, discussion, and understanding. Nobody can force anybody to do anything when it comes to politics. It's a matter of convincing other party members to agree with the position of the southern governors. But besides that too, there has to be a candidate or candidates that we can pick from. As we speak today, I was chatting with friends earlier today, and my worry is that the Southeast or the Southwest in the PDP have not produced or have not asked or given us the people we can choose from.
Well, they can choose me. Why not? They can choose me.
North, yes, that's it. In fact, I will be your chief campaigner.
Anyway,
yes, they have not yet given us candidates to jostle with, to go to town with, and they are wasting time. All the press conferences will mean nothing if they don't produce a candidate that we can work with.
Anyway, thank you very much, Jacob Mark, for joining us. We'll see how all of this plays out. Thank you very much indeed. And we wish the People's Democratic Party the best of luck, and also the All Progressive Congress and other political parties, as all of us as Nigerians prepare for the year 2023. Thank you very much.